Ralsei wants to stop the roaring, but unfortunately, he might be the one that causes it. Hello again people, today we have in store for us another theory about Deltarune. Hopefully, today's theory can create some sort of unity between two sides of the player base that have been split on this topic since Deltarune's inception. Is Ralsei good, or is he evil? Why does Ralsei give off so many red flags? Why does he know so many things that others don't? Is he truly the mastermind behind all of this? Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be your basic, oh no, Ralsei is pure evil and he's going to betray us and take all our candy. No. This also isn't going to be one where I blindly defend the clear logical fallacies that surround the toothpaste boy. I am here today to tell you in confidence that I believe Ralsei is guilty, but not complicit. Quick semantic explanation. Guilty means you are deserving blame, culpable, or responsible for a specific wrongdoing. Complicit means you are involved with others in an activity that is unlawful or morally wrong. I am here today to argue that Ralsei is responsible for wrongdoings that we will surely see the effects of in the future, but not to the effect that he was intentionally causing them. Please note, we will be taking everything that Ralsei does at face value, assuming there is no deception at play. I truly don't think that Ralsei has the capacity to lie. It was only in chapter 2 that we learned that Ralsei doesn't understand the concept of sarcasm. Sarcasm is a more tongue-in-cheek version of deception. Sarcasm is like lying to a person in such a way that they should know the truth based on how you said it. If Ralsei is so new to the idea of sarcasm, I can only imagine how easily he can be deceived when someone has malicious intent. More on that later. Throughout the events of chapter 1 and 2, what does Ralsei want? Number 1, Ralsei wants to help the Lightners. According to him, it is the purpose of the Darkners to assist the Lightners, and in doing so, it makes the Darkners feel good about themselves. There's actually a pretty interesting conversation in chapter 1 where Ralsei tells Lancer that it is the purpose of Darkners to assist the Lightners, and Lancer explains that his dad hates Lightners. This then prompts Ralsei to ask if Lancer's dad is happy, almost as if Ralsei is contemplating that if he needs to even assist the Lightners in the first place. The main point of this is that Ralsei has preconceived notions about the relationship between Darkners and Lightners, even though supposedly Chris and Susie are the only Lightners Ralsei has ever met, at least that we know of. Ralsei also has a lot of preconceived notions about other things, like gameplay mechanics. Not only that, but Ralsei also has knowledge about the light world. The most suspicious of this knowledge being that he knows Chris and Susie's names before even meeting them. So what else does Ralsei want? Number 2. Ralsei wants other dark fountains to be sealed. Emphasis on the other. From the beginning, Ralsei wants to stop the roaring. He tells Susie and Chris about the prophecy foretold by time and space. He specifically wants to help Chris and Susie seal the fountain and close the dark worlds, and he absolutely does not want someone to open up a dark world inside of another dark world. Ralsei's motives seem incredibly clear until you take the time to backtrack a bit. Ralsei wants the Spade Dark World and the Cyber Dark Worlds to be sealed, but he seems to be completely okay with his own Dark World staying open. Well, what's the deal, Ralsei? If that's such a big deal, I thought you didn't want the Dark Worlds to be opened, but here you are living in one made of pure darkness. I guess really what he wants is to keep the balance between light and dark rather than just not having dark at all. Which also leads me to question, does that mean there's a light fountain in the light world? And even so, what gives Ralsei the right to say which dark world should be closed while he lives in one himself? Remember, the only inhabitant that we know of in Ralsei's dark world was himself. So why not just move to another dark world instead of only keeping yours up? Unless it's not his decision. More on that later. Another explanation to this would be that Castletown's dark fountain is what gives Ralsei's body form, and is required to keep him alive, or at the very least, existing. It could simply be that he does this for the sake of self-preservation. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but this truly seems like it would be the first question to pop up, no? This brings us to number 3. Ralsei wants subjects. At the beginning of chapter 2, Ralsei specifically tells you to leave and come back with all of the objects in the abandoned classroom. He knows that all of those inanimate objects are the Darkners he saw in chapter 1. he just automatically knows this. Ralsei laments in chapter 1 that he doesn't have any subjects, but not just that. I feel like I'm the only one who's noticed this, but I honestly want to hear what you think. Doesn't it seem that Ralsei seemed a little bit different in chapter 2? Sure, he's more assertive, but look at all of these instances of how he acts. At certain times, he's downright bossy, ruthless. Sure, of course, on the inside, he's the same lovable goat, but it appears that he takes the mantle of Prince very seriously. Whenever he's inside the Castletown Dark World, he likes to tell people what to do a little bit more often than normal. Another piece of info supporting this is how he tells Chris that he should spare and not fight as many people as possible. It seems that Ralsei intentionally wants Chris to spare Darkners rather than just get rid of them, so he can recruit them to Castletown. Whether you listen or not, it's clear that Ralsei wants you to spare the Darkners you come across, so they can later be added to Castletown's Dark World. So there you go. That is his motivation. Based purely on what Ralsei is saying, we know that he wants to seal the Dark Fountains, stop the roaring, but also he wants all of those objects that existed in those Dark Worlds to be brought back to live in his kingdom. Now that we know the what, let's talk about the why. To what end is Ralsei planning to keep all of these Dark World denizens? Is he raising an army? Well, no, Ralsei is obviously the pacifist type, so an army wouldn't be on his list of things to do. Does he simply want subjects for the sake of having subjects? He is a bit bossy when in the Castletown, but you could just chalk that up to him taking the role of Prince seriously. And to that, we might just find our answer. Ralsei is the Prince of Darkness. The Prince, while part of a kingdom, is in charge while the king is away, but also while the king is in power, he is also a subject to the king. Just going by a basic understandings of monarchies here, yes, I know that many different monarchies work differently. Also, I know that there doesn't always have to be a king and a queen. Ralsei proudly proclaims that he is the prince of this kingdom, not the ruler. If he is the prince, then who is the king? Certainly not the Spade King, because he's kept in prison. The king, traditionally, is the father to the prince. So, who is Ralsei's father? The fourth wall breaks, the creepy levels of knowledge that Ralsei has, and the logical fallacies all point to Ralsei acting under another person. The easiest solution, and the one that everyone would immediately rush to, is W.D. Gaster. However, over time, I have joined the team of, until we actually know who Gaster is in regards to Deltarune, we can't just make assumptions about what they want or even what they look like. For a very long time, the community has seemed to be in agreement that W.D. Gaster is the main person working behind the scenes, manipulating things, putting pieces into place, essentially building up to be the main villain. However, the very existence of W.D. Gaster mostly comes from information that's found either in Undertale or data mining. I know this probably won't happen, but until we actually get a scene or some sort of character that claims to be W.D. Gaster, I can't say in good conscience that W.D. Gaster is even a part of the story. I know that the majority of people watching would probably disagree with me, but you are more than welcome to come up with your own conclusions. Yes, I know, the text in the beginning points to Gaster controlling everything with his magical time travel powers, but until we actually see a confirmed Gaster within Deltarune, I cannot confirm or deny his involvement. W.D. Gaster creating Ralsei and using him to trick Chris and Susie would be a cool theory, but it would also be kinda stolen. Fueling the inspiration for this theory is a very good webcomic that was made by someone named Snaily the Fan. Link in the description, check out their art. In this comic it shows what is commonly referred to as Gaster and Ralsei talking candidly. Are you sure they will like me?
I know they will adore you. You were made for them, after all.
Gosh, then I can't wait to meet Chris and Susie.
Ah, you meant the Lightners. Of course, they'll like you as well. My little prince.
A little creepy, but the ideas from this person's comic are very interesting. Ralsei is a Darkner as far as we know, so he had to be created by someone at some point. And that point had to be recently. Remember, Ralsei is super young, so young they don't even have a firm grasp on the passage of time or even sarcasm, as stated previously. Only a Lightner with determination could have created that dark fountain in the school. I think the person who made this comic had the right idea, just the wrong person. I think it was Father Alvin who created Ralsei. Just hear me out. Father Alvin is very religious. He has the Deltarune on his clothes, linking him directly to the prophecy. He worships the angel that is told about within the prophecy. He even has a similar color scheme to Ralsei, green and pink. Father Alvin is literally his name, so I wouldn't be surprised that when Ralsei spoke to him, he assumed that he was Alvin's son, therefore making him the Prince of Darkness. Father Alvin would have had an understanding of the school. There is a picture of him within inside the old classroom that's marked Alvin. Maybe he used to teach there. Heck, maybe he's even the principal. We only know of the two teachers at the school. We haven't been introduced to the principal yet, if there is one. Father Alvin would know about Chris, Azrael, and maybe even Susie. Father Alvin would have had all of the information that he could give to Ralsei, who would then act as a scapegoat. No pun intended. You're probably asking yourself, why would Father Alvin play both sides? Why is Father Alvin doing this? Assuming that Father Alvin is the knight and he just hasn't told Ralsei yet, he is also the one who created the first Dark Fountain and set Ralsei into motion to tell Chris and Susie about the prophecy. After all, if you know what both sides are doing, there are no surprises. Alvin could have given Ralsei a false prophecy. Ralsei is, well, gullible. Cute, but gullible. Remember, he didn't even know what sarcasm is. What if, by bringing so many Dark World denizens into one place, this is actually the way that the balance is being shifted? What if the Knight is creating more Dark Worlds and in turn make more Dark World denizens, so you, the player, Chris, whatever, spare them and take them back to the castle town, making them more powerful with darkness? Now, Ralsei doesn't outright say that the fountain itself becomes more powerful, but it is clear that by bringing other Dark World denizens into the Dark World, the world changes. It shifts. Finally, we come to the biggest question of this theory, and that is, why? Why would Father Alvin do this? Truly, until we learn more about him, we can't say for sure, but I have two theories that might just work. Number one, the admittedly less interesting one, is religious insanity. Let's be honest, everyone. Religion has spawned some crazy people over the years in our own world, and it looks like in Deltarune it already has. Jevil and Spamton, more so Spamton, has been seemingly corrupted by this idea of the angel's heaven, all in the search for freedom. In a way, that's kinda what religion does. It offers people a quick and easy solutions to problems that they have in their lives, instead of looking inwards to address the problems directly. It's so much easier for someone to put all of their trust into something else bigger than themselves. Spamton was convinced to do this, and I believe Alvin was the one to do it. Number two, the slightly more interesting one, resurrection. That poorly drawn picture in the old classroom has me intrigued. Who drew that picture? It couldn't have been Alvin himself. Alvin is probably like 90 years old or something. You wouldn't just leave that picture you drew behind. A small child that drew it, maybe? Someone who Alvin cared about. Maybe, through the Dark Worlds, Alvin is trying to gather enough power to bring someone he loves back from the dead. Think about it. Dark Worlds by themselves bring inanimate objects to life. If someone was determined enough, and if they had enough darkness energy, maybe they can bring a person back to life. Whether one, the other, or a mixture of the two, I would say that Father Alvin is planning something if he truly is the Knight. However, Deltarune isn't even close to being halfway completed as I write this script, so it seems that we are in for a long time of waiting before we get the answers we want. Once the game is truly released, it may take even longer to put all the puzzle pieces together. Until then, the only thing I can say with certainty is Ralsei is not the mastermind behind all of this. Maybe it is Niemangaster or Alvin. but someone is pulling the strings behind Ralsei's back. I just hope he can wise up and realize he is being deceived before it is too late. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.